All right. Welcome back to another edition of the DFS Deep Dive. I hope you guys are ready. We got some good takes, so let's get it rolling.
Don't just stay in the shallow end. Join us on a DFS deep dive on For Frequency's Sake. And now here are your hosts, Brian Craighead and Jordan Kernan.
Like I said, welcome back to the DFS Deep Dive. I'm Jordan Kernan. We're going to be without Brian again tonight. He's having a rough go of it, man. So shout out to Brian. Hopefully he gets a little bit better and hopefully things start working out for him. He said he should be on the show on Sunday, so ready for more of his takes. He had the take on Pat Fryermuth and Bijan Robinson 2 weeks ago. And had we played those guys in the lineup that I kind of was giving out, we would have destroyed. It would be pretty cool. But yeah, with that said, let's get into it. We're into week 14. Fantasy playoffs are on the horizon. If you're getting in, I've got a couple best ball leagues right now, and three out of my four best ball leagues on DraftKings, I am sitting at third place in three of them. One of them I don't think is attainable to get to second. I'm going to have a really, really good one. But in one of them, there's five of us who are all competing for that second place spot. If you've ever played best ball, there's 12 teams. It's just like a 12-team league. You basically get one lineup. You draft like 20 players at 20 positions. And throughout the year, they kind of just circulate your best score in there. And you're drafting for 5 weeks, all this other stuff, but your score is accumulated throughout the whole year. And right now I'm sitting tied with a bunch of people for that second spot. They take the first two, or first and second, you win $50 and you move on to the next round. There's 4 total rounds. Then this next week you play again and they take the top, I believe, 2 again. And then that kicks you into round 3 and you win more money as you go. And if you make it to week, I think 16 or 17, they you compete for like $1 million against the rest of the people who played best ball. So pretty cool. It's pretty fun. It's the first year I've done it. DraftKings, playing some early baseball, late baseball, and stuff like that. They gave me 4 free tickets. So probably something I'll invest a little bit of time into as the year goes on. But all right. If you haven't checked out the article, check out the article. It's up on Substack. But let's get into it, man. We got almost a full slate of games. Only 2 teams on bye this week. Arizona on bye and the Commanders on bye. If you're like me, I do have a few of those players, and it doesn't really suck. But I'm kind of hoping that it doesn't play a huge factor in a couple of the leagues I'm fighting for a playoff position. We watched that terrible performance by the Steelers at home last week. They let the Patriots just do whatever they wanted. Patriots come out with a 21-18 victory. I definitely had all my money on the Steelers, and that being a real defensive game with Trubisky and Zappe in there. But man, what a game by Zappe. He had a huge first half. Then we've got the best game of the week, I think, in my opinion, on Sunday night, the Eagles at the Cowboys. It's got the highest slate on the highest on the slate. Hoping the Cowboys can squeak one out there. And then we get the luxury of having 2 Monday night games. It's really weird. They're not staggered. They both start at 15. But the Packers going to the Giants, and then Tennessee at the Dolphins. We'll see how that plays out. Miami's a 13-point favorite, and the Packers are almost a touchdown favorite. But rolling through the game tiles this week, it's just one of those things. We've got like 2 games that are high totals over 45. Everything else is there's a couple that are starting to creep up there. Especially one of the games that I already wrote up in my article that's kind of gaining some traction here, and that would be the Colts at Cincinnati. Well, let's start at the top here. best game with the best environment here. Both at KC, over under 47.5. Kansas City right now is giving. Right now they're giving 1. They were giving it 2.5 when I wrote the article up last night. So getting some money on the Bills, and I really do like the Josh Allen side of it. Shout out to Joe Winkle because he probably hates that. But Josh Allen has been a really good producer for DFS. Not so much like stats out there. I mean, obviously the Bills are struggling at 6-6, sitting at 500. I do think Kansas City wins the game, but Josh Allen, for fantasy reasons and fantasy purposes, he is honestly one of the you would think that he with how he scores, he would be one of the higher owned quarterbacks on the slate. And right now, he's not even in the top 10, which is pretty nuts. So he's got highest side, and I think that whole game environment should be really good. Chiefs side of it, it's just hard. Mahomes just hasn't lived up to potential. Neither has Travis Kelce. Rashee Rice is somebody that I really like, but we'll have to see. You kind of think this game could be Bills-Eagles 2.0. After that, we got Seattle taking on the road to San Francisco. Seattle gave the Cowboys all they could handle last Thursday night. Cowboys came out with a victory. Now they get San Francisco at home. San Francisco is just playing lights out right now. They had that 3-game stretch where they just really, really sucked. And then they went on by and they came back and they've just been destroying. I do think this is another big double-digit win for San Francisco here. I don't think Seattle has it in them 2 weeks in a row. I think that magic is kind of gone. Then you've got Detroit at Chicago, over under 40.5. Detroit -3. I like this game to go over that total by a lot. This is kind of one of my sneaky plays in slate. Detroit is their defense was lights out to begin the game last week. They put up 24 unanswered points against New Orleans, and then they barely scored after that. So I do think Chicago with Fields back behind the helm or back under center here, I do think they give him a run for their money, especially with it being in Chicago. Yeah, I like Fields a lot. He right now is the second highest on quarterback on the slate. Not a big fan of Jared Goff. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of the running game either. You could see maybe a David Montgomery revenge game, but I'm more on the side of I think it's going to throw. Chicago's been pretty good up against the run lately, so I'll see myself on the Chicago side of the ball, and then maybe with some Detroit pass catchers. This game here is one that I really, really like, and the total has actually jumped up 4 points since I wrote the article last night. Indianapolis at Cincinnati. Indianapolis was giving a point. Now they're favored by 2.5. I don't think Joe Burrow's still out, but Jake Browning lit the world on fire last week. He just had a game. It was pretty cool to watch. Him and Trevor Lawrence kind of go back and forth, and then they squeaked out the win. So Browning is somebody who he made my first look kind of lineup. He's the third highest owned quarterback on the slate. They're sending the ball to Jamar Chase. He's getting a lot of dump downs to Joe Mixon, and I think that was kind of the way I was going to go. You got to think Indianapolis didn't play too hot. They just gave up 28 points to the Titans. Will Levis, he didn't do a whole lot. He wasn't the greatest, but he threw for 250 and a couple touchdowns. So if Browning at $5,200 can do anything near that, I think he's got better weapons than Levis does. So it should be pretty interesting. And then on the flip side, Cincinnati is the same boat. They just gave up a ton of points to Trevor Lawrence. Not comparing Gardner Minshew to Trevor Lawrence, but Gardner Minshew, he's really put the team on his back. You can get cheap with it. Josh Downs, I like Josh Downs. Alec Pierce, I think he had one good game. They want to get him more involved. I think he eats into Josh Downs' targets more than he does Michael Pittman. And Michael Pittman's been on fire too. Double-digit targets and double-digit catches a lot over the past couple weeks. Then you get the Rams at Baltimore, over under 40.5. The Baltimore Ravens are -7-point favorites. Just want to double check. That line hasn't really moved at all. So I do like Baltimore. They've been playing some great defense. And I don't like the Rams at all. They've shown in the past that if you pressure Matthew Stafford, he can't do anything. So I do the Ravens defense here, and I like Lamar to kind of show out. They're coming off a bye week, so Baltimore's still fighting for that number 1 seed, just a little bit behind Miami. So it should be interesting. Games to fade. Now this one's probably not. I guess it depends. I'm still probably fading it altogether. But right now, Trevor Lawrence went down when he went down Monday night. I 150% thought that he tore his ACL. The way he came down, the way he fell on his knee, and the way he threw his helmet on the ground, and you could just tell he was upset. Only to come back and suffer just a high ankle sprain. He's out there throwing passes. He's dropping back. He's doing it all. So I do expect Trevor Lawrence to play. The totals jumped up a little bit. Cleveland's still -3. But if you're like me and you think Lawrence is going to play, probably take Jacksonville getting the points at this point in time, because the Browns are still kind of like wondering who they're going to start. They don't know if they're going to start DTR or Joe Flacco. The other game, and you can throw this one up either or. Minnesota at Las Vegas, over under 40.5. Minnesota's -3. Minnesota's going to get Justin Jefferson back here, it looks like. But I don't know how good he's going to be. I don't think I'm paying up for him, especially his first game back. Playing with Josh Dobbs. It's a downgrade at quarterback just because Dobbs is more mobile. So if he doesn't catch that first read, he's just going to take off. So I could see it eating into Jefferson's targets a little bit. The Raiders under Aiden O'Connell haven't been bad, especially Devontae Adams. It seems like they're trying to feed the guy the ball all the time. So I'd be kind of interested to see that. But other than that, there's quite a few. Like I said, there's a lot of games that are just low totals. Panthers at the Saints, 38.5. I like the Saints defense there, even though they got tore up last week. We talked about that game. Bucks at the Falcons, 40.5 point total. Texans at the Jets, 33.5 point total. Broncos at the Chargers, 43.5 point total. I mean, these totals really come up because I'm telling you, man, when I wrote this article up, there was nothing over 41 points except for the top 2 games. So it seems like everything's kind of starting to come up, and there's some good, decent value that you can find, and some places that I don't think you can target. Now, having said that, I think this week. So last week in my tournament, if I need to start showing what I did last week, but last week in the tournament, the $10,000 tournament that I did, it was the chalkiest lineup that won it, like literally that I've ever seen. I think the only thing that they got different on was they stacked Brock Purdy with Deebo Samuel, and that was literally the only difference. Everybody else was super chalky. It was pretty crazy. So I think this might be another one of those weeks to where you don't really have to get super crazy. Like, let everybody else get crazy and you build a lineup that you like. So let's take a quick commercial break. I'm going to get up my results for last week. And then shout out to Dan Hancock from Gotham Gambling. We are going to try something a little bit different. Everybody talks about doing ladder. Everybody talks about ladder challenges. And I think we're going to do something here the last few weeks. See if we can't turn, maybe start with $10. See if we can't turn $10 into $100 in the last few weeks here. So we've got a little something crazy that I think we're going to do. So enjoy this commercial from Durham Remodeling. When we come back, I'm going to go over my lineup for last week, and I'm going to go over my first look for this week, and then we'll jump into positions.
Serving the Quad Cities area since 1973. And with over 50 years of excellence on their track record, you'll see why it's so easy to trust their experts when it comes to all of your home improvement projects. This family-owned business has you covered on all your needs. Protect your home or building from the elements today and get great roof repair services. Need new windows? No problem. Durham Remodeling can upgrade your windows and doors. Whether you want to upgrade the little details in your home or office, or want to tear a room down and start fresh, the expert contractors at Durham Remodeling have your back. Even the smallest changes can completely transform your space. Ready to start entertaining your friends for backyard barbecues? Durham Remodeling will help you plan, design, and build your deck and patio for the perfect outdoor space. Durham Remodeling's work is 100% guaranteed, so you can rest assured that you're getting the best service around. Call 309-786-6715 today for your free estimate for all your roofing, siding, flooring, windows, and painting needs. That's Durham Remodeling, 309-786-6715.
All right, Durham Remodeling, check them out. All right. My wife says, get crazy and win loads of money. Yeah, I wish. If it was that easy, I'd win all the time. And then when we do get crazy, I lose a bunch of money and I get mad at myself. So let me pull up my screen here. All right. So so what I've been doing all year long is kind of just making 1 or 2 reps all year long and just kind of entering it into everything. So this was a $10,000 contest that I entered last week. Honestly, I didn't really think it was going to cash at first, but it did. And it was kind of just because of Brock Purdy, Devonta Smith. I kind of with the game stack, Purdy, Samuel, Ayuk, Devonta Smith. Moss really didn't do a whole lot, but he was super high owned. Stevenson got early. Brevin Jordan paid off his cheap price tag, and then Rashad White in there. Let me get to my double ups here. So, like I said, what I've been doing and what I've kind of gotten away from this year is, I keep chasing that big win, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. And actually, most of the time, it just doesn't work out. But I think the biggest thing to do here is to just get into the double ups here. So I usually enter, I think I entered $60 last week in double ups, and I hit every single one of them. What I think we're going to do this week is a ladder challenge and a head to head. I think we're going to do $10, turn the $10 into 20, and just basically be one-on-one with some person. But all my double ups, I usually enter $60. I usually start with the 10s. I mean, you can look at how many people are in these contests and how easy it is to kind of just be at the 50% mark. So I mean, I finished in 1200th place. I'm trying to think of what they pay out here. They paid out all the way down to 2500th place at a 153. I had a 167.46. And like I said, if you look at the guy who won this thing, like the 212 was good enough to win a $10 contest. And if you look at this guy's lineup, Brock Purdy was the number 1 on quarterback. Todd White, Zach Moss were the number 1 and 2 on running backs. Michael Pittman was number 3 in wide receivers. Chris Olave was number 4 in wide receivers. Brevin Jordan, highest owned tight end. Falcons, highest owned defense. The only thing the guy did different was he stacked Brock Purdy with Deebo Samuel. And like a lot of us played, like I'll show my lineup again, but I wanted to get to Tyreek Hill, and I did. So I had to pay down at defense, and I had to pay down at a wide receiver. But what he did was he basically set this lineup based off of, like I said, number 1, number 2, number 1, number 3, number 4, number 1, number 1. He stacked Purdy with Samuel, and that's what I really liked this week. So what it left him with was $6,900. And all he put Nico Collins in there. And I understand that Nico Collins was super favorable because he got hurt, but or because Tank Dell got hurt, so he really blew up. But literally, this lineup, look at 60% owned, 66% owned, 91% owned, 57% owned, 40% owned. I mean, Nico Collins is really the only guy that he had to get super different with. And it was only because he just landed on him by chance. Like that was the biggest thing. But if you look at my lineup, like I said, I was kind of in the same boat. Like I had Purdy, I had White, I had Moss, I had Pittman, I had Brevin Jordan. The only difference that I did, I want to pay up because Tyreek Hill's he's just a monster, and you had the value to do it. So I paid up for Tyreek Hill. I had to pay down for somebody. I really like Elijah Moore. He's somebody that I really like again this week. But he, right there at 3,500, 12 points. That's plenty, and it allowed me to pay up a little bit more. A lot of people didn't like Kyron Williams, and honestly, at first he wasn't too hot, and he really came out second, and he helped me cash. But yeah, I mean, I cashed in everything, so that was real fun. It was a little bit of a sweat until he got his touchdown late in the fourth quarter. I was sweating it. So now, if we go to upcoming contests, let's take a look at my first look here. Somebody who I really like to start off, and when I was kind of looking at everything, was Jake Browning. This loads. So I got a lot of the Cincinnati Indianapolis game just to start. At Jake Browning at 5,200, stacked him with Joe Mixon at 6,100 and Jamar Chase at 7,600. Brought it back with Zach Moss just because the volume's going to be there. Even though the guy only got 7 points, he got 7.7 points. He rushed the ball 19 times, and he had 3 targets, caught 2 of them for 6 yards. So the volume's there, and at his price, what was he, 4,600 last week? At his price, I mean, it's unfortunate that he was playing against Tennessee, who's really good against the run, and that game kind of really blew up to the quarterbacks. But Zach Moss is somebody I really like. Jamar Chase is another stack piece with Browning. Drake London at $4,600, super cheap against the pass funnel defense in the Bucks. Elijah Moore, he was somebody who I like going back to again, and that was really just because Flacco looked his way a lot, and he's been involved regardless of who's on the field. But it looks like Amari Cooper might not play. He's still questionable. See, got any work in this week? Listed as questionable. He sat out Wednesday, Thursday, but he returned to the field on Friday. So Cooper's a tough dude. I expect to play, but even still, Elijah Moore, 4,500. He's the number 2 on this team, and Jacksonville's not very good defensively. Isaiah Likely, he was one of those guys that I liked. He's cheap. There's no more Mark Andrews. He's out for the season. So, and Likely's going to have to step up here if they're going to have any chance of the playoffs. Paying down for Moore and Likely, and kind of like middling, sort of like lower end on wide receivers and tight end. Let me get to Christian McCaffrey, who last time in this matchup against Seattle 2 weeks ago put up 33.9 points, scored 2 touchdowns, had 114 yards on the ground, 25 yards receiving. And then the Browns defense, I'll probably get off the Browns defense if Trevor Lawrence plays, but I also don't know about that either. It depends on how Lawrence looks. So with that said, let's clear that out. Let's jump into the quarterback position here. Starting off at the top, Josh Allen. I wrote him up. I like him. 8,300. It's a lot to pay, but at $8,300, the Chiefs defense has been good, but man, Josh Allen just slings the ball. They don't do anything else. They throw the ball. Even when James Cook gets the ball, it's passes. Very rarely are they running it or trying to run it down your throat. They're going to make Josh Allen beat you. So I like Josh Allen, especially if he's going to be super low owned. Pat Mahomes on the other side, Buffalo's defense hasn't been getting it done. So I do see Pat Mahomes, especially at home, 7,900. That's the cheapest I think he's been all year long. No, I guess he was 7,700 last week. So, I mean, he's been over 8,000. They've got him under 8,000 again. And, but he just hasn't done it. He had one 37-point game, and that's really kind of been the ceiling for this guy this year. And, I think it's just lack of weapons. He's still a great talent. Teams are starting to understand that all they have to do is really kind of cover Kelsey and really slow Pat Mahomes down. And, there's just nobody that's making plays on the offensive side of the ball. Lamar Jackson, somebody I like too. His ownership's a little bit higher. He he is in the top 10 for ownership. It's still pretty low though for his upside, and at $7,700. I mean, I think this might be who I was talking about. Yeah, he hasn't been this cheap since the beginning of the season. So when he's out here playing, he's doing good. He's had a few over 30-point performances. I think this could be another one. The Rams defense doesn't scare me. They could keep it close, but Lamar at home after the bye, I like that. CJ Stroud's somebody who we've been going to for the past few weeks, but I'm off of CJ Stroud this week, going up against the Jets. Justin Herbert, we won't talk about Justin Herbert. I don't like Justin Herbert. I don't think he's a good fantasy quarterback. And I mean, I understand the Chargers have been hurt with a lot of injuries this year, but man, I don't like Justin Herbert. Next up, Justin Fields. I love Justin Fields in this matchup. Derek Carr and then Jameis Winston, both of them playing comeback, almost caught the Lions, and the Lions ended up squeaking that one out. So the Lions are here on the road. It's tough to play in Chicago. I don't think the weather's going to be too bad, but Fields under center, it going up against the Giants defense, it's really, really cooled off since the beginning of the year. So I do like I like Justin Fields a lot. He might be my cash game quarterback. I'm just not sure. Right now, Fields is the second highest owned behind Purdy. Trevor Lawrence, I'm probably staying away. One, the matchup just sucks. And two, I don't know how limited he's going to be. Brock Purdy, his price has skyrocketed over the past few weeks, and for good reason. I mean, he's just been, he's up from when they went on bye in week 9. He's come up almost $1,000. But like I said, I mean, a 23, 29, and 11, and then a 32. But against Seattle, he really didn't have to do a whole lot because McCaffrey was getting it done on the ground. I think that could be the same kind of thing that happens this week. So if he's going to get me, a 15 at 6,500, Jared Goff, he's just I don't know. He just never does it. He never has a score where you're like, man, really missed out on Jared Goff. He's had some 27 pointers. I mean, he's had pretty close to 4x games, and he's just kind of in that salary range. They played Chicago in week 11. He only put up 16 points in week 11. So we'll have to see, but I'll be staying away from Jared Goff. Scrolling down, I don't like Stafford going up against Baltimore. I don't like Dobbs. Dobbs looked terrible the other week. Somebody I do like, though, is Russell Wilson, $5,800. I liked Russ Wilson last week, too. He got to an 18, which at that price, close to 20, it's, almost pushing. It's a little over 3x, almost pushing 4. And he's been consistent all year long. I mean, at least for the last, 6 weeks, and over 10 points. And even besides the one game against Kansas City, when only got you an 8. I mean, he's a good floor. I mean, his floor is probably 15 points. 15 points on his worst week, and now he gets the Chargers defense. They played really, really well against Mac Jones and the Patriots last week. But like I said, Russell Wilson and the Broncos have really been cooking lately. So Broncos country, let's ride. Geno Smith, no, not against the 49ers. Derek Carr and Jameis Winston, I just don't like either of those guys either way. Carolina's defense has been really good against the pass. Gardner Minshew, he's a guy that I don't mind getting down to at 5,400. He just kind of went off last week. Had it not been for Brock Purdy coming out and really showing out, Minshew was leading the pack there for a little while. Baker Mayfield against Atlanta. Atlanta's not great, but they're not horrible either. And then Jake Browning, just a massive game, 30-point game last week. He's really kind of starting to find his groove, and he home matchup here against Indianapolis. But like I said, Indianapolis just gave up a ton of points and win a game overtime against the Titans. So I like Jake Browning. Other than that, I don't think I'm getting any lower. I don't think I'm getting to O'Connell or Ritter. We don't know if Ben's going to start anymore. If he does start, though, I tell you what, I'm locking in the Cleveland defense in every lineup that I play. But really, that's kind of it. I mean, Zach Wilson's back. Again, he's going to be back under center this week against Houston. I don't know, man. It might be something about him coming back and just really, really wanting to prove something. I thought we had that, in week 1 when he came in relief. He just, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's tough. But $4,700, man, if he puts up a 15, he's making value. So, and that's overvalue, honestly. So, Zach Wilson, and you could stack him with Garrett Wilson, who I really like Garrett Wilson because Zach Wilson and Garrett Wilson, I mean, I don't know, they have a connection. But if you were to do that, you're still having $5,700 in salary after that stack. That stack is really, really cheap. And if you threw in the Browns defense, I mean, you're getting $6,100 per player. I mean, you could probably get anybody you wanted in this lineup. So that about does it for quarterbacks. Jump in running backs here. Let's take a quick commercial break, and then we'll roll into the running back position here. So thanks for dive on the For Frequency's Sake Network.
For Fantasy's Sake has teamed up with Route 96 Boutique to raise a little more cash for Toys for Tots this season. From September 10th until the end of November, 10% of all purchases made with Route 96 on Sundays will be donated to us for our Toys for Tots drive. At Route 96, they believe in girl power. They want a place that people of all shapes and sizes can shop and feel empowered and beautiful. They want you to be the best you possible, and they are committed to bringing you different styles while also providing some basics to express the true you. You can find them on Facebook and at route96boutique.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Check out Route 96 Boutique. Let's jump into the running back position. So there's been some crazy news. Isaiah Pacheco's out. We're still waiting to see. I mean, they'll probably have a committee. I bet you Edwards-Helaire probably gets the or he probably takes over the role that Pacheco really has. He's probably the one who comes in and gets the first and second down looks, and probably Jerick McKinnon comes in on third and passing down work. So Pacheco was one of my favorite guys this week, and rightfully so. The guy's just been smashing, and like I said, the Bills' defense doesn't scare me. So it really kind of sucks because he was kind of one of those guys that 6,700 was pretty cheap. But let's start at the top. Christian McCaffrey, 9,200. Like I said, last time he played Seattle 2 weeks ago, 34 points almost, just killed it. Kamara last week really kind of came out of nowhere. 2 touchdowns, 6 receptions off 8 targets, 14 rushing attempts for 51 yards. And they were playing from behind, though. So I don't expect them to be playing from behind this week, but Carolina is a team where you can really gash them on the ground. So I'd be kind of interested. I do like Kamara at $1,000 cheaper. And then you even have Austin Eckler, kind of the same boat. Not very good last week. And honestly, the last 3 weeks, just for his price point, just been terrible. Saw a huge price reduction, $700, which is kind of unheard of, especially for a guy who's been seeing over 8,000 all year long. He's kind of had a rough go of it, though, if you think about it. 21. I mean, he hasn't had a huge pop-off game. Man, we really need Austin Eckler. I mean, he was hurt for a little bit at the beginning of the season, but Green Bay's been playing tough defense. Then he had Baltimore, which is the number 1 defense in the league. Then New England, who's been playing good defense. So going up against Denver, they've been playing a lot better defense though too. So it's kind of a pick your poison type thing. Denver is a little bit better against the pass, a little bit better corners, I think, than they do interior line. So I'd be kind of interested to see, right now, if you look at the chalk, the chalky players this week, Keenan Allen is the highest on wide receiver. Austin Eckler is out of the top 10 in highest owned running backs. So I don't even see him on the sheet here. Nope, he's not in the top 10. Not even in the top 15. So yeah, nobody's kind of giving Eckler any love, which could be a fade Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler type week. But I guess it all depends on how this game flow goes. Kyron Williams, dude's been a stud in his 2 weeks back. 41.4 points in week 12, 20.2 in week 13. kind of picked up right where he left off after he got hurt. This week he gets a Baltimore defense. I don't like the matchup at all, but if I guess it all depends on how the game flow goes. Jonathan Taylor's out. Travis Etienne questionable. Ribs, it looks like, but still Cleveland's pass defense is a little bit better than their rush defense. And it really kind of depends, if Trevor Lawrence is out, they're going to make Beathard beat them in the air. Like if it were me and if it was my coaching strategy, I'm stacking the box. Etienne's not going to beat me. I'm going to make Beathard try to beat me. So if Lawrence is out, I'm off all the way on Etienne. Not that I was ever truly on him. Josh Jacobs, I don't mind Josh Jacobs. I don't mind Rashad White. Rashad White's just getting all the volume. I didn't write him up. Isaiah Pacheco was somebody I wrote up, so disregard that in the article. He's out now. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Like I said, I like David Montgomery more just because the guy's still getting the volume. Like he's getting some passing. He got 2 targets last week, 18 attempts for 56 yards. He's getting the looks in the red zone, where Gibbs he's only $100 more, but he's not getting the rushing work, and he only got 2 targets last week as well. So they're not really in a 50-50 split. And Montgomery, like I said, a little revenge game narrative. I don't mind it, but I don't know that I'm getting there. Like I said, the Bears have been playing a little bit defense, nothing crazy. Same thing with Bijan Robinson. I know he's more involved in the pass game, but against Tampa Bay's rush defense, I am saying no, thank you. But the volume's there. I don't hate it, but I don't think that it's a must play. I'm more living down in this realm. Even if Kenny Walker plays, I'm playing against San Francisco. I don't mind Breece Hall at this price. He's at least, the targets are where it's really at. He had 8 targets last week, 6 receptions for 29 yards. The week before that, 9 for 7, 6 targets for 5, 3 for 3, 4. The guy's going to get you probably anywhere from 4 to 6 targets a game, and he's probably going to touch the ball on the ground, anywhere from 10 to 15 times. So that kind of volume, you're talking probably 20 touches at 6,200, going up against the Houston defense that can be ran. And if Zach Wilson back under helm, if it's me, as long as his Q tag is anything crazy, I'm all over Breece Hall. I like Breece Hall a lot, just because I could see the dump downs being there, and I could see them maybe leaning on him. Somebody else I really, really like, Joe Mixon. He, a couple of years ago, he was the guy that, he had like 4 weeks in a row where he was in the Million Maker winning lineup. And he really hasn't done it except for last week. Last week, he had almost 30 points, 2 touchdowns, 7 targets. And I think Browning is really leaning on him as somebody to just kind of dump the ball off to. 19 rushes for 68 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just a massive game out of him. And, since he was on Monday night, his salary is a little increased to $6,900. But even from 2 weeks ago, his salary went down after a massive game. It's Indianapolis. He's at home. I like Joe Mixon. I think if I was going to I think most of my lineups will probably start with him. James Cook, I'm good. He gets some volume, but he just doesn't rush it. And they're going to lean on Josh Allen. Gus Edwards is somebody who it seems like every time I've looked, this guy has like 6 carries for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns because he breaks 2 75-yarders. So I'd be kind of interested here, but I'm not gonna. He's really boom or bust, so I'm not going to take that risk. Zach Moss, like we kind of talked about him opening, he's getting the volume, so I don't mind Zach Moss at 5,900. Javonte Williams, another guy who's getting the volume. He's really kind of starting to ramp it up. Since week 8, he was really kind of just getting nothing. He was getting a little bit of the volume. He was the lead back, but in week 8, he explodes for 27 carries, then 21, then 11, then 18, then 13. Still involved in the passing game. They get the Chargers. The Chargers. I just looking at how Ramondre Stevenson was running before he got hurt. I really like Javonte Williams this week. Devin Singletary. I don't like Devin Singletary. If I'm going to pay for anybody, it's going to be Dameon Pierce. Singletary, really took a back seat. Pierce came back and he jumped right back in a number one role. He out-touched Singletary 2-1, and he was involved. I don't think he was involved in the passing game, though. I think that was the only thing where I was like, yeah. So, yeah. So Singletary's still going to get the passing down work, but, the Jets can be beat on the ground. So if I'm going anywhere, I'm going with Pierce. Alexander Madison, I feel like every week we talk about this guy. It seems like he's always got a plus matchup, and he just never does anything with it. He's splitting touches with Ty Chandler, but Ty Chandler's there in the background. I don't know. I guess I'm ready to be hurt by Alexander Madison again because I might play him. Jerome Ford, he's not somebody that I wrote up. Kind of the same thing is like I'm gonna make old Joe Flacco or DTR beat me through the air. But Jerome Ford gets the volume. He really hasn't seen a whole lot the last couple of weeks. That's just because they've just been way far behind. So I guess it all depends on game script. So, but if Beathard's out there, I could see them, kind of slow playing it. So I don't mind Jerome Ford. Zach Charbonnet right now, I think he's in the top 5 ownership. And I'm sorry, but if he's going to be one of the highest owned running backs on the slate this week, I'm all for fading that 100%. I probably won't play any Charbonnet, and we still have to watch to see if Kenneth Walker is going to be there. But really, honestly, I think Damian was about as low as I was going to go anyway. Keontae Mitchell, Roshan Johnson, Kareem Hunt. I mean, I guess it depends on what they say with McKinnon and Edwards-Helaire. Those would kind of probably be the only two that I would be kind of maybe looking at. Jerick McKinnon, just saw him at 4,800. Edwards-Helaire is only 4,200. So like I said, I'd be kind of interested to see where they say they're going to go. If they go somewhere different, or if they say, hey, you know what, Edwards-Helaire is going to be the guy, or Jerick McKinnon is going to be the guy, then maybe I think we jump on that boat just how cheap they are. So with that, we're going to jump into wide receivers after this quick commercial break from Ryan Allison Tattoo. Check him out. He's still offering, I think he's still offering some chair time for one of the pieces that he drew up. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's one of those tattoos that he just did where it's 3 days of straight tattooing, showing off what he can do. So if you don't like his page, stop on his page, Ryan Allison Tattoo, and hit him up if you're interested. It's a pretty cool anime piece.
My name's Ryan Allison. I've spent over a decade immersed in the art of tattooing. Sharply honing my skills has materialized into a diverse and prestigious body of work. Each tattoo reflects my relentless pursuit of excellence, and every client I work with is a living embodiment of that unwavering commitment. I will gladly and wholeheartedly embrace your distinct vision.
Oh, yeah, check him out. Like his page on Facebook. I'm telling you, one of the best artists in the Quad Cities. So check out Ryan Allison Tattoo. All right, let's jump into the wide receiver position here. Start off right at the top. I don't know why I scroll up like that all the time. It's funny. Right at the top, we've got Stephon Diggs in the best game on the slate. As far as total points go, he's really kind of Josh Allen's security blanket. So, I mean, I think but it's hard to pinpoint on whether or not he's going to be weak. The dude always commands targets. I mean, 12, 7, 5, 8, 11. I mean, he's getting targeted. I mean, this little 3-game stretch here really isn't what he's been seeing. He's been more around this 12, 11, 16, 12. I mean, they're starting to kind of branch the ball out a little bit more. I think Gabe Davis is really kind of coming on, Khalil Shakir, and then kind of the emergence of Dalton Kincaid are kind of cutting into him a little bit. But I think he's got potential here. It's just hard to stack in the highest priced quarterback and the highest priced wide receiver is a little tough. Keenan Allen, like I said, he's the highest owned wide receiver on the slate right now, and for good reason. I mean, he just gets all the targets. I mean, even last week in a terrible game for both of the New England and the Chargers, still 9 targets, 5 catches for 58 yards. So that's a floor game for this guy, 100%. I mean, 10 points, 9 points. But most weeks, I mean, he's still commanding 15 targets a game. There's nobody else on this team besides Eckler, and Eckler hasn't been getting it done. And it sounds like they might be taking Eckler off the field a little bit just with how his play's been this last few weeks. So Keenan Allen going up against Denver at home. I mean, it's kind of hard to ignore. Justin Jefferson, they're getting Justin Jefferson back. He hasn't been back since week 7, week 5? Week 5. And man, before that, huge 12, 13, 30. I mean, the guy was putting 27, 28, 30, 26. Then he gets hurt against Kansas City. Only puts up 5.8 points. Cheapest price that he's been all year long. It does scare me a little bit. I don't mind the quarterback plays. Kind of is also iffy for me. Like I said, Josh Dobbs is kind of a one read kind of guy. I'm going to read and don't see anything. I'm going to take off. So Max Crosby on the Raiders, in the bull hole, I definitely think, if Jefferson can't get open right away, I think Dobbs might be on the run quite a bit. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I like the game environment, but St. Brown's kind of been taking a back seat a little bit to Sam Laporta. Laporta's been going off the last couple weeks. He had 6 targets, 2 catches. He did get a touchdown. But, I mean, it really is kind of Amon-Ra St. Brown or Laporta. So I don't mind that. Mike Evans going up against Atlanta. Evans has been killing it. Yeah, 32, 25, 15 to 29. He's getting a ton of targets, 10, 12, 9, 12. Scoring touchdowns. He's had at least one touchdown the last 4 weeks. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. He's kind of just the number one guy. So I think if they want to win, they'll probably ride more Mike Evans. Jamar Chase, this is kind of the guy that I think I want to pay up for. It sucks. It's been a terrible year for the Bengals with all the injuries. I mean, God, Burrow wasn't himself for the first week, so he gets hurt and goes down. But Jamar Chase has been healthy all year long. And it sucks that they can't all be healthy at the same time. Because I'm not mistaken, last year it was like Burrow wasn't great the first few games, and then Chase got hurt in the middle of the season, and it was like, man, you just expect big things from him. And then this year it's kind of vice versa. Jamar Chase has been healthy. Joe Burrow goes down with an injury and just hasn't been himself. So, but I like Jamar Chase. They're getting him the ball. Nico Collins, he took a huge price increase here. $6,800, almost $100 price increase, but for good reason. Tank Dell's done for the season with a broken leg. Noah Brown's back, and Dalton Schultz just really hasn't been showing it. And then you got Dusty Robert Woods to kind of fight with, Bobby Trees. So, Nico Collins, 7,600. I don't think I'm getting there against the Jets. Devonta Adams, I like Devonta Adams. They're getting him targets, and he's just kind of been the one to get it done, especially lately with Aiden O'Connell. It's kind of been the number one guy. Cooper Kupp against Baltimore, no thanks. Michael Pittman, same thing. Dude's just been catching everything that comes his way. 12 targets, 8 catches, 13 targets, 10 catches, 16 targets, 11 catches, 8 for 8, 13 for 8. I mean, the last 5 weeks has been the Michael Pittman show. And when he scores, he's just 200-yard games back to back, a touchdown last week, 7,300, and one of the better game environments. I really like Michael Pittman. I don't mind stacking, Browning with Jamar Chase and then bringing it back with Pittman. So I kind of like that. Puka Nacua, same thing as Cooper Kupp. I don't like the matchup. Chris Olave, this guy seems to have a questionable tag every single week, and I don't know. To me, 7,000 is just a lot for this guy. He hasn't had a game over 22 points all year long. If he scores you a ceiling game at 7,000, that's 4x, which will get you there. I'll keep you pace with the tournament, but you really need a little bit more out of him. But I mean, he really is the only person left on this team besides Kamara. So I just don't think I'm getting there. Ayuk and Samuel right about the same price. I mean, kind of pick your poison. I think it's a coin flip. I think they continue to keep Deebo Samuel involved, and he's more the gadget guy. And Ayuk he's kind of in a backseat the last couple weeks. He had that big pop game where he had 156 yards and a touchdown. But Ayuk is getting touchdowns every week. The last 4 weeks, he had a touchdown. So, he's been scoring. He had one in week 2 and then didn't score until week 10. So they're keeping him involved, at least in the red zone. DK Metcalf, he had what a monster game last week. That was just much to the chagrin of myself and the Cowboys because it was just crazy. This dude was just popping off for touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns, 40-point performance. He only had 6 2 weeks ago when he played the 40ers. So I don't mind DK Metcalf, but and you can beat San Francisco through the air, but if they didn't do it at home, I really don't expect them to do it on the road. DJ Moore, he's kind of the guy at the middle salary that I really, really like. Since Fields has been back, 9 targets, 13 targets. He's been doing it all again. So I do like DJ Moore here, going up to Detroit at home, and then probably looking at probably another. If I'm stacking him, I'm stacking Fields and I'm stacking Moore. They're not overly crazy priced, but it's still one of the higher stacks on the slate. Calvin Ridley, I'm good. Adam Thielen, he's cooled off since the beginning of the season. He's still kind of the only person who's there. Jonathan Mingo's been coming along. I would rather actually play Jonathan Mingo at 3,500. So I'm kind of interested there. But I'm staying away from Thielen. Sutton's got a good matchup, and he's kind of emerged as the number 1 guy lately. Ever since Jerry Jeudy got ripped apart by Steve Smith, it's been the Cortland Sutton show. 7 targets last week, only caught 2 of them, but for 77 yards and a touchdown. So 20 points is about his ceiling at 6,100. That's not quite it's pretty close, but he needs to have a ceiling game to keep you on pace. Godwin, I'm staying away from. He just hasn't been doing it. Christian Kirk's on the IR. I like Zay Jones a little bit if he plays, but I think he had a questionable back tag too. I don't mind T. Higgins in the matchup going up against Indianapolis. Amari Cooper, we're kind of watching him a little bit. Then you get down to like the Gabe Davis. I don't mind Gabe Davis at all. Huge week last week, so it makes me think that it's not going to be a Gabe Davis week. Very rarely does he have 2 weeks in a row where he just pops off. Usually, he has a huge pop game and then he's kind of quiet for a couple weeks and he comes back. And you can see that here. He had 23 points against Tampa Bay, and a 0, then a 9, then a 0, then a 25. So I don't know if we're on the downswing here for Gabe Davis. Zay Flowers, he's got to step up with no Mark Andrews. 23 points last week, 8 targets, 5 receptions, 25 yards, 1 touchdown. Then he ripped a 37-yard carry for a touchdown as well. So they're keeping him involved. It's just a matter of what the game script will really kind of play into his favor if the Rams can keep it close. I wrote Jacoby Myers up. I don't mind him. He's it's like he's involved, then he's not, then he is, then he's not. Like last week, 7 targets, 79 yards and a touchdown. He rushed the ball once. So they want to get the guy the ball. It's just a matter of, are they going to do it in a given week? Tyler Lockett, kind of on the flip side of DK Metcalf. It was a Metcalf game last week, but Lockett still getting targets, man. 8 targets, 10 targets. He just doesn't do a whole lot. So it's just a matter of, is he going to do a whole lot against a tough San Francisco defense? I like Garrett Wilson with Zach Wilson back under center. We kind of already put that together with those two together. It's a super cheap stack. You can get to anybody you want. I'll probably stay away from Jordan Addison with Justin Jefferson back. I don't mind Rashee Rice as a bring back in your jot down stacks or stacking Mahomes with Rashee Rice. Noah Brown, questionable tag. Listeners questionable, didn't practice on Friday. If Noah Brown's out, you could really, really probably see. Honestly, you probably get to Bobby Keys, but it's just a tough matchup for all of them. And yeah, Bobby Trees he didn't do anything, but they're without Tank Dell. If they're without Noah Brown, all they're going to have is Nico Collins, and he's going to be covered by Sauce Gardner. So who knows how the game's going to roll, and that's why I kind of like Dameon Pierce a little bit more. I think they're going to have to run to win it. Josh Downs took a back seat to Alec Pierce and Michael Pitt last week. Still had 5 targets, only 4.4 points. It's just a matter of who's going to get the ball in that one. Jerry Jeudy, I'm good. No thanks. Yeah, Steve Smith said you suck, so I think you suck too. Drake London, somebody I really like. Great matchup, only 4,600. He's kind of the number one on this team. 5 targets last week, only 1 catch. But I mean, he's getting consistently 6 or 7 targets a game. So you can beat Tampa Bay through the air. It's just a matter of what he can do after the catch. Elijah Moore, same thing. Keep an eye on Amari Cooper. If Elijah Moore is back, or if Elijah Moore is out there, I mean, Amari Cooper went down and they went right to Moore. 12 targets, only 4 catches. I mean, that's just insane to me. If he catches God 4, he probably has a 100-yard game and really, really blows up that total. So I like Elijah Moore this week. Tyler Board, Q-Tag, Sheed, Q-Tag, Smith and Jigba. Like I said, you can beat San Francisco through the air. If you're getting down to like the nitty-gritty, I don't Khalil Shakir at 3,900. Last week was a Gabe Davis week. This week could be a Khalil Shakir week. He usually has a few good games. I mean, he's on the field quite a bit. He catches passes. They usually script something up for him. So he had a down light week last week with Gabe Davis out there. So maybe it's Shakir this week. I don't mind Odell Beckham Jr. He's not getting a ton of volume, but he's really the number 2 guy on this team right now. I mean, Rashad Bateman's he's washed. Feel likely he's not stepping up the way he needs to, so they need somebody to step up, and I think Odell Beckham could be the guy. Alec Pierce stepped up last week. Huge game. I mean, right back to him if you wanted to. Zay Jones kicked his Q tag. So if Lawrence is back, with Kirk out, Zay Jones kind of steps up into the number 2 spot. So I don't mind Zay Jones. And then the last guy that I think I can get to is probably Jonathan Mingo. Was it 12 targets last week? 10 targets last week. I mean, the guy's getting more involved. It's just a matter of he's not doing anything with the passes. Matchup's a little bit worse than last week, and he really didn't do a whole lot last week. But if he's going to get you 10 points at 3,500, that's almost 3x. That's not bad, especially if it lets you get another stud into your lineup. So I think that's it for wide receiver position. Got tight ends left, tight ends and defense. Pretty close to an hour here. Let's run one more promo here real quick, and then we'll get into tight ends, defense, and we will we'll be back and if we got time for something else.
For frequency's sake, has you covered on all things sports. From the squared circle to the hardwood and the gridiron to the speedway, we've got something for everyone. Walk down the aisle with the boys from Cards Subject to Change every Sunday as they take a deep dive into everything pro wrestling. Need your gambling fix? We've got you there. Enter Pit Row with Rod Villagomez and Fast Money as we win the checkered flag with NASCAR, Xfinity, and truck race winners and props. Football more your style? Explore the waters of NFL DFS with DFS Deep Dive with Brian Craighead and Jordan Kernan each week. More into the science portion of the game? We've got a double dose of action there. The Professor John Bush and Dennis Michelson take you into their science lab and dissect your week in the data lab. Want an analytical take? Nick Gurl and the team at Gridiron AI come to you each week with The Lab. Need to know who to start last minute? The network's flagship show, For Fantasy's Sake, is here in a pinch. The fellows come to you live every football Sunday from 10 to 11:30 Central with the week's best DFS, gambling, and lineup advice. And wrap up your Sundays with Joe Winkle and Nick Brinks as they come to you live with educated ignorance looking at all the day's action. Can't get enough of Joe? He comes to you 3 times a week. Not enough football on Sunday? Not a problem. Kick your feet up at lunch on Monday and slip on into the football lounge with Mark and Dan while they look at the week that was in news, notes, and more. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
All right. We're back. Let's jump in these last couple position groups here. We got tight end. Tight end kind of, I mean, it's been a real crapshoot, usually DFS. Travis Kelce all the way at the top really hasn't been the Travis Kelce in the past. One really big game, 40-point game against the Chargers. He had a couple 20-pointers in there, but really hasn't cracked 20 points in 5 weeks. So, and it doesn't really matter who's in attendance anymore. He's just not showing out like he normally does. Super cheap at $7,800 compared to his normal price tag. And the Bills defense isn't the greatest. So, Mahomes, Price, whatever you want to do. Laporta is probably a guy, if I'm going to pay up for somebody, it'd probably be Laporta. He's he's catching everything. 9 targets, 9 catches, 32 points, touchdown, 140 yards last week. 17.7. He had a couple down games, and then 2 weeks before that, he had some good games. I mean, he's just involved. It's either him or it's St. Brown. TJ Hawkinson, probably staying away from Hawkinson at that point. If I'm going to pay all the way up, I'm probably going to pay up for just Laporta. I don't like. I'm not a big fan of being Dobbs behind there. So we'll see. And with Justin Jefferson back, I mean, it's probably going to cut into some of those targets as well. George Kittle, I don't mind George Kittle going up against Seattle. Like I said, I just don't think the passing game is going to have to do a whole lot. I mean, he only had 4.9 points. He's really cooled off the last couple of weeks. Only 4.9 points against Seattle this last time out. So probably, like I said, if I'm paying up big. Dalton Kincaid, I don't mind Dalton Kincaid. 7, 11, 6, 7, 6 targets. He's getting you decent points, except for the last couple of weeks before the bye. But you get the Chiefs and the highest game total on the slate. Taysom Hill, he's just a gadget guy. You don't know if he's going to get a touchdown or not. He did last week, which really helped me out in season long. But usually getting a pass or two. He's usually getting a couple rushes. He's usually getting some targets. So, I mean, he's just kind of the ultimate, you never know what you're going to get with him. Ingram, I mean, Dalton Schultz is out, so no Dalton Schultz. So we go back to Brevin Jordan this week. So that's huge. That's some good news. So that'll probably be the guy that we go to in like a cash game. I bet you he jumps all the way up to probably the highest one guy on the slate again at 3,100. Ingram going up against the number one pass defense in the league. And then if Trevor Lawrence is in there, I don't know. But yeah, last week 9 targets, 9 catches, 82 yards, 23.2 points. He had a really good game. I don't mind Cole Kmet this week. It just seems like Fields has just a knack for getting the ball to Cole Kmet. So I don't mind Cole Kmet here, especially in like a Fields lineup. You could do Fields plus Kmet plus more. And you could back if you're stacking that game environment. And Njoku, same thing. The guy just gets targets. He's just getting targeted all the time. 6, 9, 15, 9, 6. It's just a matter of what he can do with them. Right now, he's the highest on tight end on the slate. So if you're playing cash, look for that. Tyler Higbee's doubtful. I mean, we talk crap about Kyle Pitts every week. The guy's he's not involved at all. So I'm staying away from Kyle Pitts. Once again, I think he's higher on tight ends on the slate. So yeah, number 2. So yeah, please give me a high on Kyle Pitts. I'll take it all day long. Just no thank you. Tyler Higbee is doubtful. Kind of curious on who the Rams backup is. Probably was it Bryson Hopkins? If I had to guess, I don't know. Probably staying away from it anyway, just because it's the Ravens, and they don't go into that in for some reason in Los Angeles. Isaiah Likely was the guy that had my first look lineup. Oh God, I like Isaiah Likely. I don't mind him. Gerald Everett, I wrote him up just because he's out there on the field. Juwan Johnson's got a Q tag now all of a sudden. Limited part-time practice. They like to get him the ball, but it's just a kind of a carousel with all those other guys. No to Parham, no to Otten, Jonnu Smith, Kate Otten. He just didn't do anything last week. It was kind of the Mike Evans show, though. Jonnu Smith, no thanks. And I guess I don't mind it. He's kind of the one, but I mean, it's like they say they're going to get Pitts involved, and they don't get Pitts involved, and they're going to just say screw Jonnu Smith. So I'm good, I guess, there. Brevin Jordan or Tyler Conklin, probably the guys I'm going to go with. Tyler Conklin is not in the top 5 on ownership, and he shook his Q tag that he had. But yeah, I guess the lowest I'm willing to go is probably Kylan Granson. Not crazy, but three targets, 3 receptions for 72 yards, and he rushed the ball one time. I mean, the volume's really not there, but at 2,600, if it's going to be another back and forth game, I mean, I don't hate it. Then defense, you get to the defense. Texans against the Jets. I don't know. For some odd reason, I feel like maybe Wilson plays inspired. What I do like is the Saints. So I guess if I was going to pay all the way up, I'm probably going to pay up for the Saints. They really burned me last week. They got a 0 last week. Which was a little tougher, but they're going up against the 1-10 Carolina Panthers. I really don't see the Panthers being a threat to them, and I really think that the Saints have a bounce back week here. I don't mind the Bucs against Atlanta, 49ers against Seattle. See what they scored in this matchup a couple weeks ago. 14 points. They had an interception, defensive fumble, 6 sacks. I mean, you would think that they probably remedy that, but who knows? The Jags against Cleveland, I don't mind that. I'm staying away from the Colts, staying away from the Lions. The Ravens is probably another defense that I could find myself getting to. If Trevor Lawrence is back and he's going to play, I don't mind paying up $300 to the Ravens just because Stafford is terrible under pressure, and I think the Ravens can get pressure on him. Probably staying away from the Raiders, staying away from the Chargers, staying away from the Bengals in that matchup, staying away from the Vikings. I like the Browns if Beathard's at under center. No to the Panthers. Falcons, I mean, they just get it done every week, it seems like. And it doesn't really matter who they're playing against. I mean, it's just the, seem to score you something. No to the Jets, no to the Broncos, no to the Rams, no to the Chiefs, no to the Bills, no to the Bears, no to the Seahawks. Yeah, I'm pretty well good on that. I think, like I said, lowest I'm probably willing to go is the Falcons at 2,900. So, yeah, that kind of runs us through all the position groups here. Like I said, I think what I'm going to do this week is Sunday, probably during the Sunday show, I'm going to build my lineup. I usually do. So, like I said, the lineup that I build is usually something that goes into all my double ups or cash games or 50-50s, whatever you want to call them. So I put all those in there. I usually do a bunch of head-to-heads, which is just playing. I'll play 20 to 25 people in head-to-heads, and you always have to limit that to just one play per person. Don't go unlimited because then you could end up playing against the same guy 25 times or 20 times, and if they have one good lineup and your lineup sucks compared to theirs, you lose all your money, and then you're in trouble. But what I think I'm going to do is during the game, I'm going to give out I'm going to share my lineup with you, and we're going to do a ladder challenge. We're going to start at $10, go from 10 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 80, and see if we can't get over the $100 mark here in the last, what is it? Yeah, week 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 5 weeks. 5 weeks. Let's see if we can take $10 as we can. Let's see if we can just double it up for the next 5 weeks. And if that's something that we can do and something fun and exciting, you guys can ride along with me. It's kind of like a ladder challenge that a lot of people do on bets. You see a lot of them now. I'm actually involved with one on Twitter right now. I actually need SGA and the Thunder are at halftime. I need 10 more points from SGA. Nick Claxton already hit his points and his rebounds for me. So I just need SGA to have 10 more points, and we're going to double up for the second night in a row. Last night was $4,200 or $42 to win 84, and then tonight was 80 something to win 150. So, and then the guy that I'm following is trying to go to $50,000 to $5,000 this week, or in 9 bets. So it'd be pretty interesting to see. But I'm going to try to do that with a lineup. And usually my lineup is, it starts with, one chalkier. I usually build a pretty chalky lineup, somebody that's super high ownership. This week, like I said, I really like Justin Fields. So if I was going to start off, I go Justin Fields. And I usually try to get a stack option in there. So DJ Moore would be my stack option right now with Justin Fields. If I went to defense right now, like I said, I'm probably going with the Browns unless something crazy happens. So then after that, you're looking at Zach Moss is your highest owned running back. So Fields is the number 2 with a back piece. Browns right now are sitting at they're in the top 5. We'll see. It'll probably change. And then Zach Moss is number 1 owned running back on the slate. Somebody who it's kind of pick your poison at wide receiver to start. But if I was going to go with anybody right now, it's going to be Rashee Rice at 5,400. They're just in a better game environment, I think. The other guy is Garrett Wilson. So you could either go with either of those two. And then at tight end right now, it's David Njoku. So you could go down to David Njoku. Like I said, I don't mind getting down to Brevin Jordan again, just with the news that what's his name, Dalton Schultz is out again. So Fields, Moss, Moore, Rice, Brevin Jordan, Browns defense, C4 left. Like I said, this is kind of where you got to make your decisions. I mean, you can kind of get the shell out of your lineup, and this is kind of what the shell of my lineup looks like. So then if you come to running backs, the next highest owned is Christian McCaffrey. So I don't mind that. But if we were going to say, like, I want somebody with the volume, Javonte Williams here, he's in the top 10. So I don't mind getting to Javonte Williams. And then you could go with another wide receiver. Like, so if you went to your flex and you're like, all right, I'm going to punch in Christian McCaffrey, it leaves you 4,300 at wide receiver, which isn't terrible. I don't mind some of the guys down here. We kind of talked about them, like Khalil Shakir or Alec Pierce. But in double ups, you're looking for the floor. And Christian McCaffrey has a really good floor, don't get me wrong. But I don't know that I want to spend all my salary there. So you could even say, you know what, I could go with like Alvin Kamara. But he's a little bit sporadic. Who's somebody who's been just getting all the time? I mean, you can go with like a Rashad White who gets all the touches for his team. I don't even mind this. You go with like a David Montgomery who gets a lot of the carries. That leaves you 7,100. Man, and you're just kind of in no man's land here. So it really depends. But this is something probably towards I'm doing for like a double up. But come Sunday, after they kind of get everything squared away with all these people being out, I'm going to get you guys my lineup. I'm going to put in a $10 entry against somebody head to head, and then we'll go over the results next week. If we win, we'll go $20 and try to play somebody for 40. After that, we'll do 40 to try to make it 80, and we'll try to get over the $100 mark in the last 5 weeks here. So if it works out, cool. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Give it a shot. See what happens here. I've been pretty good at cash games this year, so follow along. Let's have some fun. And that's going to do it for me. You can get me on Twitter, jfantasy_sports. You'll see me Sunday on the 4 Frequency Stake Network. And then tune into, we've got a ton of shows. You could tune into, I think Dan does his Golden Ticket Show right here, Golden Ticket Show. Every, I think he does a lot of them at about noon Eastern most days, but he always does one at 11:30 right before, right after the Sunday show. So check him out. Card subject to change, guys. These guys here are getting a ton of guests. They've always got a show. I think we're getting ready to come up to another pay-per-view for wrestling. So at least for WWE anyway. So these guys are out there, educated ignorance. I believe they come on either Sunday night or Monday night. Joe, if you didn't watch last week's Educated Ignorance on Monday night after the game, I highly suggest it. Joe, super passionate about the snub that happened to Florida State. I think it was a snub, 100%. I think they did it for ratings. I mean, I get it. I understand that the guy is, Jordan Travis is, he's a hell of a ball player. But man, you got to give him a chance. Give him a chance, really. But yeah, I mean, we've got shows all over the place. Check us out. And I'll be back. Like I said, I'll see you guys Sunday, and hopefully Brian's back on Friday night next week, and we'll roll into Week 15. Hopefully, you make the playoffs. Good luck if you're kind of on the fringe, and if you're already in, tell your players to rest up so they can really come out and show out. That's going to do it for us. So thank you for joining me tonight, and we'll see you guys next week.